Well, all men must die. That's for sure. Intro, please. Hey guys, coming over the season finale of Game of Thrones, Season 6, Episode 10, The Winds of Winter, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. One, because last week's episode was probably one of the best episodes Game of Thrones ever done, by far the best battle they've ever done, and so many people have been praising that episode, saying Game of Thrones is back, and how this season's been amazing, because really this has been a great season. I mean, it's been so eventful, and, really, I didn't know if this episode was going to top it. I really expected this episode to be a epilogue sorts of episode, setting up things for next season, but not at all. Not at all was this episode. This episode was insane. This felt like a movie. I mean, this 70-minute length is probably one of the best decisions Game of Thrones ever made because, one, this episode needed to be long. Two, the amount of shit that happened in this episode is just insane. Seriously, I can't believe everything that happened in this episode. I mean, really, things are going to be crazy, and I can totally understand why we're getting such a limited amount of episodes, next year. One, this show is hard to make. Two, it's hard to please everyone, and this episode, I think, definitely did that. I mean, was this episode as good as last week's? Oh, no, last week's episode is still the best episode of the season, but it's right up there, definitely. I mean, this episode was crazy, by far the best finale Game of Thrones has ever done, without a doubt. I absolutely love this episode. So much shit went down. Let's just get into it, because there's so much to talk about, honestly. Now, the first 25 minutes of this episode focuses only on the Cersei story. Cersei, Tommen, Marjorie, that whole storyline that we've been going with all season. That's the main thing we focus on for the first 25 minutes. But let's just get into it. We see the primary players in the trial of Cersei and Loras prepare for an event, and they make their way to the Great Sept, and Grand Maester Pycelle is stopped by a child who whispers something in Pycelle's ear, and Loras is brought in chains to the center of the Sept. He admits to it, and basically, he's told that this trial is going to happen. He says straight out, look, I don't want a trial to happen. I don't want a trial. And he admits straight out everything he's done, including sleeping with Renly Baratheon. And it's just really sad to know, again, that this is happened. This was a crime back then. I mean, today, for many people that are homosexual, is National Pride Day. This was the day, when it was, this was a year ago, they legalized gay marriage, and it just shows how far it really comes as a society, and I think this scene in general really does show that. I think Game of Thrones has done a very good job with not, making it, not trying to villainize homosexuality, but showing that back then it was a crime, and it was considered something was wrong with you. You were considered a criminal. It was a federal law. If it, it was bullshit, but it was a federal law, and Loras kneels and offers to devote his life to the Seven, which means abandoning the Tyrell name and his claims to Highgarden and any prospect of marriage and having children, and really his entire life is going to be stripped away from him. And the High Sparrow, as Loras swear an oath. And again, this is what he wanted Marjorie to do. He told Marjorie straight out, look, you need to straighten Loras out. You need to try to ruin his life more. She refused to do that, so now they're going to do that to him, and basically, the sparrows carved the 7-point star into Loras' forehead. Marjorie is angry that they mutilated Loras, saying the High Sparrow promised, and he said straight out he won't do anything to Loras, but we know, of course, what the High Sparrow wants, he gets in the end, and the High Sparrow says he'll keep his promise that Loras can leave after Cersei's trial, and it's just a really crazy scene the way that was done. But obviously, Cersei, we see, is not left for her trial. Now, why hasn't she left for her trial? Well, that happens. Well, we find out exactly why in this amazing next scene that I can't wait to talk about. So basically, the Mountain has kept King Tommen away. Cersei's not there, Tommen's not there either, and there has to be a reason why. Now, I was thinking, okay, Cersei's just gonna surrender. She's not gonna go to a trial because she feels she can't win. That's what I thought was gonna happen. Not at all, though. We see Lancel takes other sparrows to fetch her. They see a child running away. Lancel follows, and another child brings Pycelle underground to Qyburn's laboratory. Qyburn asks for forgiveness, saying he bears Pycelle no ill will. Qyburn's child spies, draws daggers, and surround Pycelle, stab him to death, and Lancel follows the child to a storeroom underground. The child stabs him, dropping Lancel to the ground. The child runs away. Lancel crawls through the cavern and finds casks of green liquid stacked on both sides, and this is such a cool scene. I love the way this was done. Lancel, going there, basically, doing what he did. The child then runs away, and Lancel crawls through the cavern. He finds casks of green liquid stacked on both sides, and I'm like, that's toxic waste, right? Like, that's acid. If you burn it, it could end up really bad. And what he does is one of the coolest things I have ever seen in Game of Thrones. And I can't imagine the budget that went into this scene. But Marjorie tells the High Sparrow that something is wrong, because obviously there's a reason why Cersei's not there. She's not just not going to show up to her own trial. That's not how Cersei is. Cersei, she's a bit of a bitch, but she's definitely not a coward. And he encourages him to evacuate the Sept. And Lancel sees 3 candles burning down a puddle of wildfire. Marjorie begins trying to empty out the Sept, but the sparrows block the exit. A candle reaches its end, the room full of wildfire ignites, explodes beneath the Sept, destroying it, sending green flames throughout the streets of King's Landing, and everyone in that building is dead. So yeah, and I'm not talking about just a few people. Marjorie's dead, Lancel's dead, Loras is dead, everyone in that building is gone. Everyone. It's insane. I can't believe it. It's just, Tyrell's dead, Maester Pycelle's dead. Everybody in that building is dead, and it makes sense, obviously, why Cersei didn't go, because Cersei knew this was going to happen, and Tommen, she tried to, protect from it, obviously. So, basically, Marjorie knew something was going to happen, but Cersei smiles at the sight, and honestly, I kind of feel like this was her doing in many ways. I feel like she purposely did this. First of all, remember, she had no sympathy and no bearing on, Marjorie whatsoever. She didn't give a shit about Marjorie. She didn't care what happened to her, and also, she doesn't really care about Loras either, or anything that has to do, with the Tyrell. She doesn't care about any of them. So really, to her, this had no bearing on her whatsoever. So honestly, I really feel this was Cersei's doing. Let me just say, remember how much I've hated, kind of like Cersei this season? That's completely gone after this episode. I fucking hate Cersei after this episode. But honestly, Lena Headey just does a great job with this role, and she's so good that honestly, while I, initially hated Cersei, I kind of love to hate her after this episode. Like, I think that's really, and it really goes, I think, how good Lena Headey is in this show, because she really is fantastic, especially in this one scene that I definitely do want to talk about. Tommen is very dumbfounded. He has no idea what's going on, but then we see this one awesome scene that I absolutely love. Cersei has Septa Unella as her prisoner, begins torturing her, demanding she confess to enjoying how she treats Cersei at the Sept, because this was all Septa Unella's idea. She was the one, remember, she was the one that shamed her. She was the one that got her into this whole mess. This is the woman that did the walk of shame. That was the one that said shame, 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 and was all Septa Unella, and that happened actually 1 season ago. And Unella says she's ready to meet the gods, but Cersei says she's not going to die today, and just this scene was just awesome, and it's such a great line. So she plans to keep her alive for quite a while. She calls in the Mountain, and you know what the Mountain is? The guy that literally stomped, Oberyn's head like a tomato. She's locked in that room, removes his helmet to unveil his disfigured face. Cersei says Gregor is Anella's god now, and repeats shame, shame, shame. She closed the dungeon door behind her, and what a badass scene, honestly. Look, like I said, I don't like Cersei, I don't, but I love to hate her after this episode. She is an awesome character, and Lena Headey just killed it in that scene, because honestly, yeah, she is getting her revenge. Again, no one should have to go through what Cersei went through. It's really crazy the way she did that. I mean, I don't think, anyone really would resort to those kind of matters, but this is Cersei we're talking about, and what an insane scene. I really like the way that was done, but holy shit, that was crazy. Really, that was insane, and I really was not all prepared for any of this, honestly. Again, this is a season finale after we had a huge battle episode, and all of this is happening. And then, to continue that, we see Tommen is giving reports about what has happened, and you knew eventually he was going to find out about Marjorie, but he didn't know at this point. He finds out what happened, and basically they tell him, not to do anything, unrational, and after the message leaves, he removes his crown, and I'm like, alright, he's gonna give up being king. But then we see he's standing on the windowsill, and I'm like, alright, he's gonna pray, and then he puts a foot out, and then he kills himself. Tommen's dead. Tommen is dead. So not only is Marjorie dead, Tommen's dead. Everyone's dying in this episode. It's fucking insane, but Tommen is dead. I can't believe Tommen is dead. Now look, was Tommen a good king? No, Tommen was a horrible king. He really was not good. He was not very smart, but he also was just a kid. So that's the one thing with Tommen. He was just a kid who was madly in love with Marjorie. There was this unrequited love that she really did not have for him, although I feel like she did kind of start to have it. It completely changed, in that scenario. Her being dead, now he feels like he has no reason to live. He doesn't I don't think is that he doesn't love Cersei, but I think he knows that Cersei not going to the trial was all because of her hatred for Marjorie and how she didn't like Marjorie at all and how she wanted nothing to do with Marjorie. I think that's totally what's going on there. Really crazy the way that was done. I can't believe that they actually killed off Tommen, and honestly, they're badasses for doing so. It's an awesome scene. I really did love that, and that perfectly takes us into the next scene. And remember, guys, this is only the first 25 minutes of the episode. I can't believe it's only the first 25 minutes, but it is. We see Jaime and Bran are feasting at the twins as Walder Frey makes a toast. And honestly, I could have an entire episode of just the Cersei stuff, but this is the season finale, so obviously we need a lot more stuff, and that makes sense why we do extend the episode. So, Bronn leaves the two women as Walder takes his seat next to Jaime, and Walder Frey mocks the Blackfish, but Jaime returns the favor to add Frey. Walder doesn't mind much, as he's still standing after the Starks and the Tullys have fallen. Jaime reminds Frey that he only has River Run because of the Lannisters, and that he should keep control better, or they may no longer have a need for the Freys, basically. You know, he's the one that has that control. And yes, is it kind of convenient that Jaime's gotten what he wants? Yes, but it works in this episode. It really does, especially when we get to the end of this episode. So, Cersei's freaking out. She demands that Qyburn show her Tommen's body. Obviously, her son's died. She wants to see his body. But Qyburn literally says, we're going to burn Tommen and bury the ash in the rubble of the Great Sept. And Tommen's being cremated. It's not her decision. Again, people have all this hatred for Cersei. And it's not gone away. The one thing that Cersei's wanted hasn't gone away. And honestly, I don't feel bad for her, really, after when, you know, Cersei, look, it's terrible what happened to you, but when you do things like this, I can understand why this would happen to you, because you're a bitch. You're a bitch, and you're powerful, and you're awesome, but you're a bitch, and I think this episode very much shows that. Like, she's very powerful, she very much knows what she's doing, she's very controlling, but she's a bitch, and this episode very much shows that, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I like seeing Cersei not get what she wants. Like I said, I really do love to hate her in this episode, and this very much showed that. So, Sam and Gilly arrive at Old Town. Now, we haven't seen a lot of Sam and Gilly this season, but I think they did a good job with this. They go to the Citadel, present Sam's orders from Castle Black. The receptionist says the records have J.R. Mormont as Lord Commander, not Jon Snow, and they haven't received any word from Maester Aemon. And Sam explains the situation. The receptionist says it's irregular. The Archmaester will discuss this with him later, and in the meantime, Sam can use the library, but Gilly and little Sam must wait outside, and Sam is literally brought to this huge library of chained books. Now, what he's gonna do here, I don't really know, but this is like a huge library. I was watching my dad at the time, who, this is a guy that just, he loves to read. He finds enjoyment in reading. You know, you have a book, my dad will just pick it up. Any book that you've read, you know, my dad will just have a conversation with you about. He's pretty much read every book I think there is, really. There are so many books. That's one of the reasons he loves Game of Thrones much, because he read the books, and he said that he'd never come out, and really, I mean, it's incredible. I've never seen a library that big. Really insane. What's Sam gonna do here, I don't really know, but really cool scene. A white bird then fly, and even scenes like that where not a lot happened, it still was really cool, just seeing him go to this library, not knowing what's gonna happen. I thought was really awesome. So a white bird flies over the north, Jon Remon, and we see Jon, and obviously, you know, they've now won, but they don't really feel like they've won. I actually like that they're not necessarily happy. They're not necessarily feeling victorious, actually. Jon reminisces to Melisandre in the Great Hall of Winterfell. Davos enters, tosses Shireen's stag at Melisandre, and we knew that something was going to happen here, because obviously, you know, he found what happened with Shireen. You know, he found Shireen's thing, and we knew that eventually this was going to be a big deal, and he demands that she tell Jon who it belonged to and what she did to her, because nobody knows that Melisandre was involved in Shireen's death. When Melisandre tries to explain herself, Davos is furious, accusing Melisandre's god of being evil, and Melisandre reminds Davos that Stannis and Selyse went along with it as well, and he accused her of lying about Stannis being chosen, but Melisandre says she didn't lie, she was just mistaken, and honestly, I do feel bad for her. Even though she was behind this, I do feel bad. Davos wants permission to execute Melisandre. He wants to just execute right then and there. I'm like, are we actually gonna kill Melisandre? I was about to freak out. But Melisandre says she's been ready to die for many years, and yeah, that's true. I mean, that's why we got that whole first scene in the first episode, you know, the whole scene in the first episode where we see that Melisandre is like ancient. She's so old, and we didn't get exactly how old she is, but we know she's extremely old, and she's very slowly, you know, if she had not had this younger body because of the necklace, she'd probably be dead by now, and really, I think they showed that very well, and, you know, basically, Melisandre, she says the Lord of Light isn't done with her. She reminds him of the coming war of the Night Kings and White Walkers. He tells her right south today, and if she returns to the north, she'll be hanged, and Davos promises to execute her himself if she returns. So Melisandre rides away from Winterfell, and it's probably the first time that Jon's not going to have Melisandre by his side. Melisandre always says, look, I'll go where you go, but now she's not on his side, and it seems like Jon is kind of against her as well. He'll never be able, I think, to look her in the eye the same way again, and it's mainly because, I mean, no one should, forgive someone for that, especially what she did, killing a child. I mean, it's very hard to forgive her for that. I get why she had to do it, but still, it's very hard to forgive someone over that. And even though I feel bad for Melisandre, I'm not going to condone what she did. I'm not going to say what they did was irrational at all, because honestly, they didn't kill her. They sent her away. They let her live her own life, and I don't really know what's going to come out of this. We'll have to see next season, but that's basically what we get there. Sansa then approaches Jon on the walls of Winterfell. He says he's having the Lord's Chamber prepared for her. She says that he should take it, and he says that he's not a Stark, because, again, his name's not Jon Snow. He's an adoptive Stark, and she says that he is to her. He gives her credit for the victory against the Boltons, and Sansa says she doesn't trust Littlefinger, because, again, Littlefinger just randomly showed up, and, he didn't seem like he would comply to her terms before, so why would he now? And she should have told Jon about the Knights of the Vale, and Jon says they need to trust each other, kisses her forehead, and Sansa says a right Raven has come for Raven, not Waven, why did I say Waven? Raven has come from the Citadel, meaning that winter is there, and winter has come. So now we know that winter has come, shit is about to get real, and it's definitely going to get crazy, and Jon remembers their father always did promise that it would, and we've heard since the beginning of the show, winter is coming, and winter has came, guys, winter is here, and I don't know what's going to happen next season, but there's probably going to be a lot of White Walker battles next season, and also the fact that Jon says, look, we have a lot more enemies now, and yeah, because so many people are going to fear the Starks now. The Starks finally got that revenge that they've desired since the Red Wedding, and they finally got it on last week's episode, but now there's a lot of, hardships and things they're going to have to face. There's a lot of things that I don't think they're, ready to face, but I think Jon very well knows that they are going to face, and it really does show how smart Jon is, even though they are obviously, I think very excited that they've, prevailed and everything, and that they won, and that they were victorious. They still are feeling a little bit, like the underdogs, I think. I think they're still feeling like the underdogs, but now I think they're feeling too powerful, and also they're feeling that they're going to be, have so much power that everyone's going to come after them. And we know how much everyone's after the Lannisters because they had so much power, and who knows what's going to happen to the Starks now that they have all this power. Who knows what's going to happen there. Really interesting stuff. But Olenna then meets with Arya and the Sand Snakes in Dorne. I think the last time we saw Arya was the season premiere. I don't think we've seen Arya since then. It's interesting because I said Arya was going to be the villain of the season, and she really didn't do much this season, which honestly is fine because I can't stand the two sisters, honestly. They're the only thing I don't like, but I did like the way that Olenna, she put them in their place, and Olenna's such a badass. Arya wants an alliance between the Martells and the Tyrells against the Lannisters in order to survive, and Olenna does not plan to survive, she says. And, Arya offers vengeance, rings a bell. Varys enters, offers fire and blood. Varys is back, and the question is Olenna really going to take this deal? Was she able to sway her over? We don't really know. That's going to be what next season is, because we know that Olenna is planning to leave. She's planning to get away, but is she actually going to pull her in? I'm not really sure. If she can, that's going to be very interesting, but I don't really know if she'll actually be able to pull her in. I think she thinks she might be able to, but I don't really know if she's going to be able to. We'll see what happens with that. So Daario tells Daenerys that her ships are nearly ready. Daenerys says that Daario cannot come with them to Westeros. She wants him and the Second Sons to maintain peace in Meereen during democratic elections. And she's leaving Meereen. By the way, I pronounced it wrong. All these episodes, it's pronounced Meereen. I don't know why I said Meereen, but it's pronounced Meereen. And Daario has no interest, though, in the people of Meereen. He only has interest in Daenerys. He's been with Daenerys since the beginning, and she says she'll need to make alliance in Westeros, and the best way to do that is through marriage. She can't bring a lover to Westeros, and basically Daario would settle for being kept a secret. Daenerys refuses him, and Daario senses that this is all Tyrion's idea, because it's totally something you do, but he's not angry. He's actually not angry about it. She renames Slaver's Boys the Bay of Dragons. She bids Daario farewell. He leaves, and it's a really good good. I think, I think it's a really good closure for her and Marine. I don't really know if she's coming back. And Tyrion asks how Daario took it. Daenerys says no tears, and he credits her self-sacrifice as the mark of a good ruler. She says it isn't much consolation, and Daenerys says that she is frightened that she may say goodbye to a man who loves her but felt nothing, and he clearly loved her, but he felt nothing about it. And Tyrion completely fails to console her. He tells her that he believes in her, swears, and counsel to her now and always. She names him Hand of the Queen, pins the recreation and the Hand's badge to his chest. Tyrion kneels, and he's staying with her. It seems like Tyrion is her new second in command, and I love that. I love that these two are on screen. I love the bond they have. This is something that I was so looking forward to this season. We didn't really get it because she was away from Marine all season, but I like that she's here now. I like that she's with Tyrion. I can't wait to see the way this goes down, and we know that she's going to Westeros. That is where she's going to go. She's going to try to be queen, and I can't wait to see the way that turns out. Such a good scene, though. But Walder Frey then dines alone in the hall at the twins. He wonders where his sons are, and a serving girl tells him that they're already here. He's confused, and she tells him to look in his food. He discovers a lump of brain literally right there, and the girl tells him that they weren't easy to carve. She pulls off her face, and it's none other than Arya is the one beneath this, and oh my god, this was such a badass scene. She tells Walder her name. She says, look, I'm Arya Stark. That's the last name you'll ever hear. It's the last face you'll ever remember. She slits his throat, lets him bleed out. She holds his head back and smiles, and Arya's in full revenge mode at this point. Arya's in full revenge mode. She's going to kill whoever she sees, and I love this. I love that we're finally done with this training bullshit. I'm happy that we're done with the whole, the Jay Quinn. I'm glad we're done with the waif. I'm glad we're done with that storyline because it wasn't going anywhere. She now knows who she is. She's going to be a badass next season. I can't wait to see the way that goes. Awesome stuff, and Walder Frey's dead too, so just add the names to the 500 people that died in this episode, so that's awesome, really. I thought that was a really cool scene. So Littlefinger then finds Sansa sitting in the weirwood for a much-needed conversation, because obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Why has he showed up? And the reason he showed up, I think, is actually a lot more surprising than I thought, but basically, he tells Sansa about his ambitions to claim the Iron Throne with Sansa by his side. He leans in to kiss her, but Sansa stops him. She says it's a pretty picture, then walks away, and Littlefinger tells her he's declared publicly for House Stark, and she's still very apprehensive. He says that she's the future of House Stark and that the North should rally behind her rather than Jon Snow, because really, yeah, this was her victory. She was the one that killed Ramsay. She was the one that wanted this. She was the one that coaxed Jon into it, and she actually leaves him alone in the weirwood and says, look, I'm not interested. He's about to kiss her, actually. It's really weird. He's actually about to kiss her, and, she stops him, and I'm like, this is her uncle. And again, I know that, yes, Cersei and Jaime have had tons of sex, and she even says that, to the woman that shamed her, in that scene, but basically, the reason I think Sansa did this is to show how strong she really is. She's so strong that she doesn't need any sort of victory. She doesn't need any sort of prize from conquering, Ramsay. The defeat was enough for her. She defeated him. That's all she needs. And knowing that he's dead is enough for her. And I love that. I love that knowing that he's dead. That's it. She doesn't need to know anything else. She knows he's dead. She knows he's gone, and that's it. She killed the man that she hated the most, and she killed the man that wronged her, and that's really enough for her. She doesn't need all this victory, and I really love the way that scene was done. Sophie Turner's just killed this season, and many people have said this really has been Sansa's season, and I really think this scene really shows that. Really, this has been all about Sansa overcoming rape and overcoming everything that's happened, or overcoming the death of everyone that's died, overcoming all the shit she's been through. Finally, she's able to move forward. Finally, she's able to be her own person. This is her saying, I'm not going to listen to people any further. I'm going to do what I think is best for me, and that is her moving forward. It's such a triumphant moment. I love the way that scene was done. Sad to see Littlefinger, obviously, not allied with her, but I don't think he's going to stop, because we know Littlefinger keeps his promises. He doesn't say no, and I think we're definitely going to see more of this, but I think, if anything, this really to show how strong Sansa was all season. I absolutely love that. So close to the wall, Benjen tells Mira and Bran that this is where he will leave them. The magic in the wall that keeps the White Walkers and the dead out of Westeros will also keep him away, and basically, as long as the White Walkers are there, he can't be there. He plans to do what he can to fight the White Walkers, wishes them good fortune, rides away. I doubt this is the last we're going to see of Benjen. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, that was nothing to see Benjen Stark. We're going to see Benjen again. This is not the last we're going to see of him. But Brandon sees blood tears coming from the eyes of a werewood tree, and he reaches out to touch it, and he flashes back to Ned as the Tower of Joy. He barges in. Lyanna's in bed, covered with blood. She's happy to see him and that she's missed him. She says she wants to be brave and that she doesn't want to die, and she whispers something in Ned's ear, asking him to promise to protect her child, and the child is placed in Ned's arms. The child is none other than Jon, who has confirmed that he is in fact a Stark. Such a well done scene, because really, we haven't known if Jon actually was a Stark. This episode confirms that he was. I absolutely love that. Such a well done scene. I really think that's cool, and the way that Bran's embracing this power as the Raven, as the three-eyed Raven, I think is awesome. Can't wait to see the way that that goes down next year, but he's trying to unite the Northmen, the Free Folk, and the Knights of the Vale. He tells them the coming enemy from the north who brings winter with him, and there's a lot of talk and disorder in the hall until Lyanna Mormont rises, and she silences them. She calls out each house who refused the call. She proclaims Jon king in the north, bastard or otherwise, that he was the one that did this for him, because he was the one that was able to, win this war. He did it all on his own, and really, yes, it was Sansa, but again, he's a man, she's a woman. That's kind of how it works. And Lord Manderly rises and backs Lyanna and Jon, crediting Jon for avenging the Red Wedding, calling him the White Wolf and King of the North, and Lord Glover follows the room, begins chanting King of the North. Sansa meets Littlefinger's gaze. He doesn't seem very thrilled, because really, I think he knows that deep down, this was Sansa's win. Sansa was the one who deserved this, but she's going to give it to Jon, because that's something that Jon needs. Jon was really someone that was trying to find his purpose. He really didn't want to be alive, as we know, he just wanted to die, and really knowing that, he's actually eligible and is definitely going to become King of the North, I think really just makes Sansa feel good. It makes her feel good. It's enough for her, and killing Ramsay, like I said, really was enough. She doesn't need any sort of prize. I absolutely love that. Such a well-done scene. Him being just praised by everyone, knowing that Jon is going to be King of the North. This is totally the perfect position for him, because after him leaving the Watch, really, he didn't know where to go. He didn't know where to go, because that's where he'd been all that time. He didn't know what his purpose really was, and now that they've proclaimed him King of the North, now Jon knows really what he's there to do. He's there to be King of the North. He's there to, help out all the Starks, and he's going to do whatever it takes to do so. Absolutely love that. Jaime then reaches King's Landing, sees the smoke rising from the city. He enters the throne, and right there is Qyburn crowning Cersei as Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, which is exactly what Cersei wanted. Really, I think she just wants to be in control, but yeah, that works for her too. Being queen, being in power. Marjorie's no longer queen. She's in power. That's exactly what she's wanted, and Jaime can tell that this was her doing, definitely. I think he just knows that this is her doing. I like that Jaime's back in King's Landing. We were done with that storyline that I really wasn't a fan of. And we see at the very end of the episode, the Iron Fleet, Daenerys' ships, sail from Marine as Daenerys' dragons fly overseas, and Varys is with them now. They're headed to Westeros, and that is the way this amazing finale ends. Really incredible stuff. Such an episode of triumph and just closure. But let's just get into it overall, because it was just incredible. So overall, I think this is really safe to say this was the best finale that Game of Thrones has ever done. I mean, I know last year I said that, but really this was. I mean, it was long, but it was never boring. There was something interesting going on every scene, and there were big things that happened in every scene. Excuse me. There were big things that happened in every scene, and really it's just crazy how big everything was. I'm losing my voice here because of how amazing this episode really was. I mean, between all the characters that died, everything that happened, Jon's now king, and what impact is that going to have on him? I mean, we do get the sense that Jon's still not safe. There are going to be people coming after the Starks, and how are they going to prepare for that? I don't think Jon's really ready to realize how many people are really coming after the Starks, and really what he's ready to face. I don't really know what's going to happen there. That's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. Cersei being queen, what's she gonna do now? I mean, Cersei's now queen. It really seems like she has a take no prisoners attitude. She doesn't care that people are shaming her. She doesn't care that people don't like her very much. She's queen. She's in power. That's what matters to her. She's wanted to be in power, and she now has it. But Daenerys is coming to take that power from her, and that's gonna be awesome to see. I can't wait to see. That is gonna be an awesome battle next year. It's gonna be her whole crew versus the Lannisters. The Lannisters don't have any left. Neither the Baratheons are done. I think that's really it. I think Tommen really was the last one. one, but especially, for the Lannisters, they don't have many left, and really you get the set they really don't have many left at all, and I think this really, Daenerys is coming to take that power away from them, as well as Tyrion, and definitely that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Bran seems like he's embracing his power. I can't wait to see the way that goes. Benjen is not, gone for good. He's definitely coming back. Now, Sansa, like I said, I really do think that Sansa feels that Jon deserves this after all the shit he's been through, after everything that's happening, dying, coming back. He just deserves it, and I think Littlefinger knows deep down that she deserves it, but I think she really just, again, defeating Ramsay was enough for her, and that's really as she feels. Arya's in full revenge mode. Who does she kill next? Cersei's gonna be the one that she kills. I think seeing Cersei on the throne, whenever someone's on that throne, someone dies, and whoever ends up on that throne is dead. Is dead. So I'm assuming that Cersei Lannister is dying next season. I don't see Cersei living past next season. I mean, especially knowing that Arya's on this mission now to kill everyone that's wronged her and her family, and go on this revenge mission. Arya's coming to kill her. Arya's going to kill Cersei. It's going to be so awesome to see. Look, if Tyrion can kill his own father, Arya can kill Cersei. It should be a piece of cake. It really should not be hard to do. I think she really should be able to kill Cersei, and I think she's probably going to do it next season. Daario, what's Daario going to do now that he's in Marine? I don't know if we're going to see that. That's going to be interesting. Is Olenna going to take this deal? Because obviously, Ellery is presented to her. We don't know if she's going to take this deal. I'm wondering if she really is going to take this deal. Melisandre, now that she's been banished from Winterfell, where is she headed? I can't wait to see where she goes next season. And then I think the only other question is Sam. What is Sam going to do now that he's in this library? I don't really know what's going to happen there, but overall, guys, such an amazing season. Other than episode 8, which really wasn't that great, I absolutely love this season. So many incredible things about the season. Really was a season of just empowerment and triumph and moving past all of the obstacles and all of the faults and just everything that these characters have been through. Finally, it seems like they've triumphed against it, and I absolutely love that. Any character that wasn't in power at the beginning of the season is now in power at the end of the season, and I absolutely love that. Characters like Daenerys, Sansa really just prevailed. Really was a season of strong females, and I think that's really cool the way they did that. They gave more for Bran to do. Really, everyone just had something awesome to do this season. Absolutely loved it. Personally, out of the seasons I've seen, this is my favorite season of Game of Thrones. Again, I've only seen 3 through 6, but this is by far the best season I've seen. I absolutely love this season. Despite episode 8, this was an amazing season overall, and despite all the Arya stuff as well, I still think this was an incredible season. Love pretty much everything about it. Let me know what you guys thought of this season. Such an incredible finale, though. What is happening next season? What are your predictions? What did you think of everything out of this finale? Like I said, it really needs to be supersized. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Love your thoughts in it, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Preacher, and then we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.